Hi, everybody. Hi, Divine. Okay, so I did that live stream the day before Mother's Day, and I was basically saying that I don't believe that children necessarily have anything to be grateful for having life imposed on them, but I believe that fathers do because women are essentially giving children to their male partners. And then I got some pushback saying that no, women were not necessarily doing anything special. It's 50-50. Men are contributing just as much as the woman because the child carries 50% of his genetic material. So I want to address that because I'm not sure what's going on here, but I just think that it's obvious that men may contribute 50% of genetic material, but they're not contributing 50% of the labor, right? So when you get your car fixed, there's parts and there's labor. When it comes to making a baby, yes, you may be contributing 50% of the parts. I don't even think that's true. I don't think that it's true that you're contributing 50% of the parts. You're contributing 50% of the raw materials, your genetic material, but when it comes to actually making the baby, that baby is not developed. It's not as if you gave your sperm and then she gave her egg and then that makes a baby. No, the baby that's the raw material, but you still have to finish making the baby inside of her womb, which requires her body to feed that baby with nutrients to nourish it, to carry it to term. Now, I've talked about this before that when a woman carries a baby, like her organs literally are pushed up. I mean, I don't know what this feels like because I've obviously never carried a baby. I'm a man, but I mean, there's a lot of physical symptoms of what is going on. Her uterus expands, her stomach is pushed up, her intestines are pushed aside, the diaphragm is elevated by up to 4 centimeters, and her bladder is compressed, which is why they have to frequently go to the bathroom. The hormone relaxin loosens every joint in her body, causing pain throughout the duration of her pregnancy. Many women's shoe size go up, their hip width increases, the shape of their ribs are permanently altered, her immune system is suppressed. If she doesn't consume enough calcium, her body extracts from her own bones to build the child's skeleton. If she doesn't consume enough iron, the fetus takes priority and she becomes anemic. Her blood volume increases by roughly 50%. Her heart must work harder to pump for 2 human beings. Now, there's a process called matrescence. And during this process, her brain physically rewires. If her blood pressure rate is too high, she can suffer seizures, strokes, liver failure, kidney failure, or even death. I don't think that men are taking any of these risks. And this is not me caping for women or caping for others because I still believe that procreation is unethical. But we're just talking about clear facts, clear objective facts that you had an orgasm, which was your pleasure, but after that, all the heavy lifting is on the woman. I mean, this is not anybody's fault. This is just a natural way that things go. So yes, you did donate your genetic material. And yes, that child is 50% yours. But what you didn't do is donate over 280 days of labor. You didn't donate the calcium, your iron. You didn't compromise your organs to give life support to another human being. Labor is one of the most physically violent experiences a human body can endure. It can last for days, if not hours. The vaginal canal must be stretched to accommodate a head averaging between 13 to 14 centimeters. There's vaginal tears. And let's not even talk about a C-section, because let's not even address how risky that is. That is a major surgery. The pelvic floor muscles and nerves are stretched and often torn, leading to urinary incontinence that affects many women permanently. Postpartum hemorrhage, a leading cause of maternal death worldwide, can occur within minutes of delivery. Recovery from an uncomplicated vaginal birth takes 6 to 8 weeks. Recovery from a C-section is even longer. The man goes home, his body is unchanged. Now, I was talking to y'all about how I listened to this conversation, this live stream, where they were basically shaming women for not losing weight after pregnancy. And the man on the panel was saying, "Oh, well, I gained weight and it was so easy." You didn't give birth to a baby. You didn't go through all these changes, the hormonal changes. You didn't have a baby the size of 14 centimeters. Well, the head, never mind the shoulders, the head of 14 centimeters. None of that happened to your body. Now, in the state of nature, we were to look at the animal kingdom. The lioness carries the cubs. She births them alone. She nurses them entirely with her body. She has to hunt while simultaneously raising cubs. Now, the difference, I would say, in the way that it should be naturally is that the female has other females to assist her. I don't think that women should be they should be raising their young without the help of other females. So when you do it in isolation, it is much more difficult. So yeah, when the females hunt, there may be a couple of females that stay behind to care after all the cubs. And then the male defends the territory, which is dangerous. But for the most part, the male is just physically there. He doesn't always assist in hunting. If it's a larger prey, yes, he may help. But for the most part, he's just marking his territory, defending the territory from other males. And then when a lioness gives birth or whatever, when the cubs are old enough, then she presents those cubs to the male as a gift. So the person who was saying, well, it's 50-50, the woman gets just as much out of it as the male, I don't know if that's necessarily true. Under English common law, which I've talked about on this channel, I've talked about the doctrine of marital coverture, that they basically there's a unity between the man and the woman when they get married, at least on the common law. I mean, that has dissolved under recent case law. Well, not even just case law, but even statutory. And under coverture, the woman did not have her own separate status. Once she got married, she took on his last name. She took on his legal status. It was not even considered necessary for women to have voting rights because the man's voting rights basically spoke for the entire family. So her interests were his interests. She did not have any separate interests from his. So this was a complete erasure of the woman. The children took his last name, even though she's the one who gave birth to them. It was his legacy. Yet it was her body that took the toll for bringing those children into existence. And this was the social contract, because this is the whole purpose of marriage, that outside of the marital contract, women would be on their own to fend for themselves. And so their interest was that they got protection and provision. And a man's interest was that he got a legacy. He got children who he knew were his because the woman had to be monogamous. So for all intents and purposes, those were his children. I've talked about this before. If she wasn't married, then they would be considered her children. But once they became married, those were his children. That was his family. Not only were the children his, but the woman was his too. So did women want children just as much as men? I don't know. Especially prior to modern medical intervention, that woman would have been taking on a great risk. She would have been risking her life. But they had to do it anyway because this is the only way they could survive. They had to give men children so that the men would take care of them. That was considered a duty. And if you didn't have children, if you were childless as a woman, you were considered a spinster. Society would make fun of you. You could be shunned. Nobody would respect you as a woman. You didn't even have rights without being married and having children. So your total social status was based on being a mother and being a wife. So for your own survival, you had to get married and have children. Now, despite the fact that the man provides 50% of the genetic material, for the most part, he's just an observer when it comes to procreation. He plays no role in what is going on inside the woman's body. He can't feel the pain. He's not contributing anything beyond that initial act. His organs are not being displaced. His immune system is not being suppressed. There are no minerals being extracted from his bones. Now, I don't know why a man would want to compete with a woman, why a man would think that it's 50-50 when it clearly is not. It is demonstrably false. Why would you want to compete with a woman in the first place? That's the part that I don't understand. I understand that socially men and women should be equal. That's what feminism brought about. But outside of the social status of men and women, when it comes to procreation, no, there is no parity. Your roles are separate and distinct. You are supposed to be the protector and the provider. She's supposed to be the nurturer. And that's the reason why I am against, well, I don't really want to get on a lecture about why I abstain from having sex with women because uh, I know people are going to come for me, but I believe that unless I was married to a woman, I think it's unethical because I'm putting her body at risk. I'm extracting. I feel that it's exploitation. I'm getting the pleasure. What does she get out of it? She risks her body to give birth. So I'm not trying to shame people for being attracted to members of the opposite sex. I'm just saying personally, I can't do it. If I was going to do it, I would have to be married. I can't just sit up and have recreational sex with a woman, putting her at risk, and then she gets nothing out of it. I would want to be married if I was going to do that. So you're sitting on the side watching this woman go through all this pain. You have no empathy. You're just like, oh, what about me? I contributed just as much. I'm going through the same thing. Oh, I gained weight just like you. It was just as hard for me. No, it wasn't. You know good and damn well it was not just as hard for you. It's not even just as hard for you after the child is brought into existence. Who's going to be doing all the caretaking? Whose body is physically built for caretaking? Who's going to breastfeed that? I'm not saying that all children are breastfed, but you don't even have the ability to do that. The woman has to give up work. I mean, maybe she had her own career, maybe she wants to pursue an education, but no, she can't. Now she has to stop because her body is going through all these changes. She has to constantly go to the bathroom. She's getting nauseous. She's throwing up. Do you have any of these symptoms? And let's not even talk about the social stigma of being a mother. Because once a woman has children, her desirability decreases drastically. Now, when a man has children, he can go on and find other partners easily. But once a woman has children, it's going to be very difficult for her to find anybody to date her, to remarry her. And basically her social currency goes in the toilet. Do you think that happens to men? I mean, I just said it does it. I don't see it happening. I mean, other than the social artifice of child support, that is a complete social construct that doesn't exist in nature. But it's not visible. Nobody knows that you're paying child support. You can still date somebody and never even disclose that you're paying child support. You get to visit your child every once in a while. You're not doing the heavy lifting. I do believe that child support is unfair, but at the same time, I don't believe that anybody's a victim. As the saying goes, it's cheaper to keep her. If you chose to procreate with a woman who you were incompatible with, then that goes with the territory, especially when you know that this is how the system works. You support, I mean, I'm not going to say everybody, but most people do support democracy. They support these state institutions. So, well, the state has decided that you must pay between 25 to 40% of your income to this woman who you're no longer with. We can talk about child support separately. I mean, I believe it is, there's room for reformation. I'm not going to address that right now. But at the end of the day, it is unfair, but you did go along with it. You knew that. I mean, it's like, where's the forethought? If you know that if you get a woman pregnant, you're going to be stuck paying child support for 18 years. Why would you voluntarily do that and then complain about it? It's not as if anybody did this to you. You could have used a condom. You could have gotten yourself a vasectomy. And I know that's a sensitive issue for a lot of men. They feel like they're being castrated. But fine. You can raw dog it. You can roll the dice. You can leave all the responsibility of birth control on the woman. But when when your own recklessness produces the predictable outcome, don't complain about it. You knew exactly what was going to happen. You decided to not only have unprotected sex, but to ejaculate inside of her. And then, oops, I didn't know that that's how babies were made. I didn't know that if a baby came out, I was going to have to pay child support. I didn't know that I wasn't with her. We were not married. We didn't have any intention of actually being together, but yet I still decided to be that reckless and then complain about it. Like, I don't understand. I don't understand this way of thinking. I don't understand the projection of responsibility. Whose fault is it? I mean, you did impregnate her. Like, I guess she could get an abortion to the extent that it's still legal in some states, but does she have a duty to get an abortion to fix your mistake that you put your genetic material inside of her? There's risk with getting abortions too. So yes, you're paying her for the abortion. And some people think they deserve credit for, well, I paid for it. Are you paying for her? Are you paying for the permanent risks that are associated with getting abortion? I mean, I'm not a medical expert, so I can't speak to that. But many women will complain about how after getting abortion, they've had multiple miscarriages, that some of them have not been able to carry any children to term because of getting an abortion. So I know we do live in a society, feminism, we're supposed to be 50-50. And that is the ideal. I guess that's something they strive for. We hope to get to 50. There was this whole equal rights amendment that was being pushed, like, I guess, what was that, like the early 80s? They were trying to get a constitutional amendment to literally make men and women equal, to make men have equal responsibility when it comes to caretaking and all of that. It did pass, but it wasn't ratified by the states. But at the end of the day, I don't think a constitutional amendment or a statute can make men and women equal. You're just not. Your role is not the same as the opposite sex, especially when it comes to procreation. You're not built the same way. You don't have the same hormones going through your body. So as we see birth rates declining, the response is not to tell men to have children. The response is to shame women into having children. The response is to restrict women's access to birth control and abortion rights. Because they know that only women can carry children. So let's stop pretending that it's equal. It's just not. I mean, I would like to push back against the person who was making that argument in my comment section. What part of it is 50-50? The genetic material only? I mean, I don't understand what these people are thinking. To me, it just makes no sense. Yeah, I appreciate that, Divine. I've lost a full inch of height due to having children. Right, and what's her name? Against Life 1000. She did content about this, showing what happens to a woman's body after she gives birth. Like her breasts are deflated, her stomach never really goes back to its original shape. And I'm just going by the stomach, but according to the data, her rib shape actually changes permanently. I just think it's so ridiculous. Most men don't want to support kids who aren't theirs, right? So if that woman already has children, she's going to have a lot of difficulty finding somebody to mate with her, to marry her. A lot of men don't want that responsibility of taking care of somebody else's kids. Let me answer this question. Why do you think there are more male antinatists than women antinatists? It is because being a male is a miserable experience. I do think that is a separate topic. I think there's more responsibility for men socially. Men are expected to be achievers. I don't know. I need to give that a little bit more thought. I don't know. I think it's because women are a little bit more social than men, that they do like talk out their problems. Men are supposed to be more emotionally stoic, keep things bottled inside, not really reveal. I don't know. I'm not a psychotherapist, but I mean, I would have to give that a little bit more thought to answer your question sufficiently. Right, exactly. So, but a person, not just one person, actually, was I believe about three who said that it's equal. I really would like you to reevaluate your position on that. What part of this is equal? I don't get it. It's not equal. It's not even debatable. Like you, Jeanette, you donated an orgasm, and that's it. She has to do all of the labor herself. So, with that being said, I am going to end this live stream, and you all have a good night.